Oh my, pepper spray at the University of California, Davis, sparking the controversy. After it happened, critics called for the school's chancellor to resign. Well, at this week's hearings, she denied any wrongdoing, said she never ordered police to use that kind of force against the protesters.
I direct the police to use pepper spray, and the answer is no. Did I direct the police to use force? And the answer is no.
Here now, David Schwartz, Keisha Heaven, both defense attorneys and former prosecutors. Good to see you both.
Thank you. You too, Greg.
Keisha, let me start with you. Look, the law is very clear on these matters. You're allowed to use that level of force that meets the danger and force that you face.
That's correct.
And you cannot exceed that level of force. Now here, you got a bunch of protesters sitting on the ground. There's no danger, is there?
No, there was no need to use the force that was used in this instance. The protesters were peaceful, they weren't violent, so the only thing that was necessary if the police were ordered or authorized to have them leave the property is to say, you need to leave, and if they don't leave, I think the next level should have been an arrest, not to pepper spray them.
You know, David, that's what they do here in New York and elsewhere. I mean, they literally pick up the protesters and they cuff them, you know, with the plastic cuffs, and they toss them in the paddy wagon, you know, I mean, and then they haul them off to jail. Isn't that what should have happened here?
I agree, Greg. That's exactly what should have happened. If it's a peaceful protest and they want to remove the protesters, the step would be an arrest. But we have to hear, you know, I would like to hear from the police in this matter. There is due process. There are two sides of the story. Those pictures look really bad for that police officer, but still, he's still entitled to due process and to find out why he used that pepper spray.
Well, you know, a couple of officers, as well as the chief, were suspended after this incident. What I'm wondering about, Keisha, now is the myriad of lawsuits. Because, you know, look, a couple of these protesters were hospitalized. The others were treated at the scene. And, you know, this was already litigated. It went to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, Headwaters Forest Defense versus County of Humboldt. Sheriff's deputies were held liable for excessive force for using pepper spray at close range on peaceful environmental activists.
Right. And
so this is dead bang liability, isn't it?
Absolutely. If you look at the video, you see the officers pepper spraying the protesters directly in their faces, and they're sitting there, and it's absolutely unnecessary, and I do see grounds for a lawsuit here.
Yeah, you know, David, what about the chancellor? Not my responsibility in a way. I didn't order it. I didn't tell him to do that.
Right.
Is she on pretty safe ground here?
I think she's on safe ground. She did not make that order. It's not the type of order that a chancellor would make in that situation, to use pepper spray on her students. So I believe her. I believe her testimony, and I think she will survive in that role.
I think we have another sound bite. Let's play that now. Here it is.
Suggested that you delegated this power to a vice chancellor to oversee police. Did your vice chancellor authorize the use of pepper spray or the use of force?
That is something they need to, you know, I cannot speak to this. Obviously, the investigation will bring this forward.
So Keisha, is it your sense as well as David's that, look, it's the officers who engaged in this behavior. If they received instruction from anybody above them, they're liable too, but, you know, beyond that, no liability?
I think the police officers themselves will be liable because police officers receive training, and from what I know of law enforcement training, they're trained that they only should use the amount of force necessary to take control of the situation. And from what I understand, they made this call at the scene.
Right.
So,
you know, David, I'm wondering about criminal responsibility here. And, you know, the most often cited case is the Rodney King beating case, in which officers clearly exceeded the level of force. You know, though acquitted in the Simi Valley State Court trial, they were held, two of them at least, criminally responsible in the federal court case. Do you see it moving in that direction? Criminal charges for assault and battery?
No, I don't see that, Greg.
Why not?
Pepper spray, well, because pepper spray is a weapon, is an arsenal that they have at their disposal.
Causes harm.
Now
That's the definition of assault and battery, David.
Right. I hear you, Greg, but if the police officer perceives that there is a dangerous situation going on in his mind.
How could you perceive danger?
Because you're talking objectively. I'm talking about his subjective
David.
intent behind using this pepper spray. He
There's
will
no
not be facing
danger
liability.
there. a
You
child
can't
wouldn't
criminalize all
perceive
behavior by a
danger.
police officer, Greg.
What do you think, Keisha? Criminal charges?
I definitely think there would be criminal charges filed because that force was absolutely excessive, and it's just like you mentioned in other cases. There were criminal charges filed in those cases as well.
All right, Keisha Hebben, David Schwartz, good to see you both. Thanks so
Good
much
to
for
see you.
being
See
with
you.
us.
Thank you.
All right. Heather?